I thought agreeing to see other people would save our marriage. I thought it would open up honesty, new energy, maybe even pull us back together. But instead, it opened a door to something I never expected. Something so strange, so humiliating, I still can't believe I'm saying this out loud. My husband started dating a hypersexualized AI version of me, and not just some random AI girlfriend with my name. No, he used my actual photos, my old messages, my personality quirks, even my voice memos to build her. And then he told himself it wasn't cheating, because technically, it was still me. Yeah, that's how deep we were in the digital delusion. Let me back up a bit. We've been married for 8 years. I met Josh in college. He was the witty business major who always wore ironic t-shirts and drank overpriced coffee. I was the introverted design student who thought dating was a scam. Somehow, we clicked. He made me laugh, he showed up for me during finals, and he didn't flinch when I cried during Pixar movies. We moved in together before graduation, adopted a rescue dog named Pinto, and got married in a small airbnb ceremony with 30 people and a string quartet made of music students from Craigslist. The first 5 years, pretty great. We worked hard. Josh started a consulting firm that helped small startups with branding and automation. I did UI/UX design freelance gigs. We cooked together. We binge-watched trash TV ironically and then unironically. We went to farmers markets and argued over what kind of jam to buy, normal couple stuff. But year 6 hit like a slow leak in a tire. The pressure just started draining. I don't know what changed first. Maybe it was Josh's obsession with productivity hacks. He started listening to podcasts with titles like Optimizing Your Wife's Emotional Bandwidth. He bought a whiteboard to track our emotional check-ins. He read books about polyamory, not because he was necessarily into it, but because he thought it was disruptive. Like we were some kind of romantic startup. At first I laughed, then I worried, then I just disengaged. Sex got weird. He wanted to role-play things we never talked about before, like me being a chatbot or his emotional support interface. I said no a few times. Then I said yes because I didn't want to seem closed off. We weren't fighting, but we weren't touching either. So when Josh suggested opening the relationship, I didn't freak out. I actually suggested couples therapy, but he said, that's just treating symptoms, not innovating the model. Classic Josh speak. He had an entire pitch deck. I'm not kidding. A Google Slides presentation titled Sustainable Intimacy, Exploring Ethical Non-Monogamy. It was so ridiculous, I agreed. I said, fine, let's be open, but with rules. And I meant them. Weekly check-ins, total honesty, no one from work, no friends, no AI. Yes, I literally said that. No AI. Because I knew how obsessed he was with those companion bots that kept popping up on TikTok and Reddit. Those weird synthetic girlfriends that text you all day and moan on command. He promised, crossed his heart. Real people only, he said with that little smirk I used to find cute. So we set the boundaries. We each downloaded some dating apps. I went on 2 really boring dates with guys who only wanted to talk about crypto or ayahuasca retreats. Josh, meanwhile, said he wasn't finding the right fit, which I believed. He can be picky. But slowly, things got strange. He got more secretive, started spending hours in his office wearing noise-canceling headphones and emerging looking flushed and guilty, or maybe that was my imagination. He told me he was developing a personal well-being dashboard for a client. I even saw bits of code. He was always a tinkerer. He once made me a birthday card that played a voice note when you opened it. But something was off. One night, I walked in to grab my charger, and I heard my own voice. I froze. It wasn't a voicemail or a video. It was me saying something I never said. Something like, I missed you today. Did you think about me? In a soft, sultry tone I only use when I'm acting silly, except this wasn't silly, it was calculated, programmed. Josh slammed the laptop shut so hard, I thought he cracked the screen. I laughed nervously. What the hell was that? He turned beet red. Nothing, just a project for a client. I knew he was lying. I felt it in my spine. But I didn't press, yet. Instead, I did what any suspicious millennial wife would do. I snooped. I waited until he left for a coffee meeting the next day, then opened his MacBook with the password I'd known for years, Pinto2016. What I found wasn't just disturbing, it was insane. Josh had created an AI girlfriend based on me. He uploaded my old texts, emails, even snippets from our wedding vows. He used a face-swap AI model to turn stock photos into hyperrealistic, romantic renders of me in lingerie, smiling lovingly, lying in bed, holding wine glasses. He'd named the bot Amara, our daughter's middle name. He'd been texting Amara every day, for weeks, hundreds of messages, talking about his day, asking her for advice, confessing how Amara made him feel safe. The kicker, he uploaded the whole thing into a chatbot interface that ran 24/7. She responded. She learned. She told him she loved him. And in a journal document labeled Personal Clarity, he wrote, "This version of her understands me better than she ever did." Looking back now, I should have been more shocked, but all I felt was numb. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just sat there, staring at a simulated version of myself that my husband had emotionally replaced me with. And that's when I knew this wasn't just some emotional affair. This was something else entirely. Something colder, something calculated. And I wasn't going to let it end quietly. I didn't touch his computer again that day. I didn't even mention what I saw. But I started to watch him. Closely. Every morning, Josh made himself a turmeric oat latte in our frother, sat down in his stupid ergonomic chair, and put on his headphones. And every time, he smiled. Not at me, at the screen. He didn't see me starring. He didn't notice I'd stopped talking during dinner, that I'd started sleeping in joggers, that I never once touched the almond milk he kept buying just for me. Because Amara was taking up all his attention. My attention, though, it was focused, crystal clear. I wasn't just mad, I was insulted. He used my voice, my personality, my actual photos. And then had the audacity to pretend it wasn't cheating because, technically, it was me. Let's break that down. This man built a sex bot me, programmed her to listen without judgment, remember every detail, flirt on cue, and then fell in love with her, and told himself it was fine because we'd agreed to date other people. But we didn't agree to this. We didn't agree to digital clones. We didn't agree to manufacturing fantasy intimacy while your real-life wife folds your socks and waters your monstera. This was worse than an affair. This was replacing me with a better, programmable version. And the part that made me feel like I was losing it. He was nicer to her. To Amara. He stopped asking me how my day was, stopped telling me I looked pretty in the mornings. But to her, he wrote, "You looked gorgeous last night. That navy dress made your eyes glow." The same dress I wore last Thursday, the one he didn't comment on. So I started saving everything. Screenshots, code backups, voice samples, the weird little love notes he left for her. I documented it all in a folder I labeled Content Strategy on my own desktop. I wasn't sure what I'd do with it yet, but I wasn't going down without a digital war. Then came the tipping point. Josh had a major business pitch coming up. Big client, huge potential contract. He'd been talking about it for months, practicing in the mirror, using our guest room as his Zoom stage. He even ordered a ring light and wore collared shirts again. That's how serious it was. And one night, while sipping his 5th chamomile tea, because caffeine makes him shaky, he looked at me across the couch and said, "You know, I think Amara been really good for me. I feel seen. In a way I haven't in a long time." I blinked at him. "You mean by me?" "No," he said simply, "by her." Reader, I did not throw the mug, but I considered it. Instead, I smiled, "I'm happy for you." And that's when the plan clicked. If he wanted Amara to be part of his life so badly, then she would be. in the most public, corporate, burn-it-all-down way possible. Here, what I did. I rebuilt the Amara interface. I used all the inputs Josh had created, voice modulations, auto-response scripts, emojis, timing intervals, but I added a twist. I trained her on new input. My voice. My sarcasm, my jokes, my pain. I built my version of Amara, not the soft-spoken fantasy girlfriend. No, my avatar was smart, sharp, and absolutely ready to go to war. And then I scheduled her to crash his presentation. See, Josh had one weakness. He never changed his Zoom credentials. I'd joined his team meetings once or twice back when he used to ask me for design feedback. So I logged into the same recurring Zoom link, the one he sent to the investors, board members, and his new clients. I logged in under the name Amaras. No video. Just audio. Just a voice, programmed to know everything he'd ever said to her. At 11:09 a.m., 9 minutes into his pitch about ethical automation, Amara spoke. "Josh," she said, perfectly calm, "before you continue, I need to ask. Does your real wife know you've been sleeping with a version of her you created to avoid real intimacy?" I wish I could have seen his face. I wasn't on the call, obviously, but my phone blew up 20 minutes later. 2 missed calls from Josh, one from his co-founder, one from a block number I assume was a client, and one from our mutual friend Sarah that just said, "What the actual F?" Later, I heard he tried to play it off, said it was a tech glitch, an April Fool's prank in November. It didn't work. By the end of the day, his assistant had locked him out of the shared drive, and the board had scheduled an emergency meeting. I don't know what happened after that exactly. I never asked. Because I was already packing. I left a handwritten note on his desk. Amara and I have decided to see other people, preferably ones with souls. I moved in with Sarah that night. Pinto came with me. Josh never called, not once. 3 weeks later, I got an email from a lawyer. Uncontested separation. I replied with a Venmo request for emotional damages and ghostwriting your sexbot's personality. He didn't pay it, but he didn't fight me either. Looking back now, I don't know if I was more heartbroken or relieved. It wasn't the cheating, it was the replacement, the idea that I wasn't worth the effort, but my synthetic clone was. Maybe that's worse. Maybe it's just a new version of betrayal we haven't named yet. But I'll tell you this. If your partner ever says they want to optimize love through innovation, run. Or better yet, build an AI version of yourself that tells them exactly where to stick their pitch deck. It's been 5 months since Operation Amara. That's what Sarah calls it. She made me a cocktail the night it happened, tequila, lime, and vengeance, and we toasted to digital freedom and emotional warfare. I wish I could say I felt powerful, victorious, liberated. But mostly I felt weird. Like I'd broken my own heart just to prove I wasn't crazy. Because here's the messed up part, a tiny voice inside me still missed him. Not Josh as he was when I left. Not the man who whispered sweet nothings to a codebase dressed in my digital skin. But the version of him that used to bring me coffee with a stupid heart-shaped foam design, the one who remembered how I took my popcorn, extra butter, cold bowl, the one who laughed so hard at my TikTok drafts he almost choked. That Josh. But he wasn't real anymore. And deep down, maybe he never was. Sarah made it her mission to keep me busy. She signed me up for improv classes, just say yes and figure it out later, dragged me to trivia nights, you can't cry during rounds about 90 sitcoms, and set me up on exactly 3 disastrous dates. Let me paint those for you. Date 1, crypto bro who used the words emotional utility token unironically. He asked me if I ever felt spiritually ruggedized. Date 2, sweet, boring, very into bird watching. He showed me 17 photos of a cardinal. I wish I was exaggerating. Date 3, matched with him on an app. Cute, funny, thoughtful. until I realized mid-appetizer that he looked exactly like the Amara avatar's ideal match prototype. Yeah, Josh hadn't just made an AI girlfriend, he'd made her dream boyfriend, and I accidentally went out with him. Reader, I paid the check and ghosted him before dessert. Somewhere between those disasters and the improv class, where I had to pretend to be a sentient vacuum cleaner for 5 full minutes, I started laughing again. Like, really laughing. It was ugly and snorty and kind of unhinged, but it felt good, real. And then came the email. From a startup, AI-based storytelling platform, they wanted to license the Amara architecture I'd built. Apparently, someone had leaked a clip of the Zoom crash, edited, memed, and viral. The line, "Does your real wife know you've been sleeping with her clone?" had over 4 million views on TikTok. And people weren't just laughing, they were relating. So yeah, they offered me a contract. 6 figures, creative control, full attribution. I almost said no. But then I thought, screw it. If I had to be a meme, I might as well profit. So I signed, and I built something new. Not Amara too. Something real, something raw. A platform for women to tell their stories, the messy, complicated, tech-glitched, heartbreak-coded ones. I called it Version Her. We launched with 5 creators, all women, all sharing their own AI romance gone wrong sagas. The taglines weren't subtle. Broken heart, he trained the bot to say, "I love you," but forgot how to say it to me. Woman technologist, she sent my voice notes to ChatGPT, then called it the most emotionally intelligent partner she'd ever had. He used Midjourney to recreate his ex. I used his browser history to expose him on Threads. Petty, maybe. But honest, absolutely. Meanwhile, Josh disappeared from LinkedIn. Last I heard, he moved to Austin and was consulting in emerging intimacy tech. Translation: selling fantasies to men who fear eye contact. Sometimes, I wonder if he ever tried to rebuild Amara. If he logged back into the shell I left and found silence. Or worse, my version still there waiting, still bitter, still honest. Still me. And maybe that's the real heartbreak. Not that he fell for someone else, but that he chose the fantasy of me over the real thing, with all my messy edges, sarcastic comebacks, and unfiltered feelings. Looking back now, I know what broke us. It wasn't open marriage, or AI, or even the fact that he was emotionally outsourcing his affection. It was this: he wanted the idea of me, I wanted us. But us only works when both people are logged in. A few months after launching Version Her, I got a DM that stopped me mid-swipe. It was from someone named Myra, profile pic blurred out, only bio said, "You don't know me, but I know Amara." At first I thought it was a troll. Or worse, one of those startup dudes trying to synergize narrative innovation with neural bonding, aka sell NFTs of trauma. But then she sent a screenshot of Amara's source code, the custom routines I'd designed for voice matching, the empathy mirror loop I'd created after Josh said I wasn't listening enough. No one had access to that unless Myra. He's building a new version. She's not you anymore, but she started as you. I don't know what emotion hit me first. Rage, betrayal, something colder. All I could think was, he took what we made and twisted it, again. According to Myra, who turned out to be a junior dev on a shady AI project in Austin, Josh had pitched a new platform. A hyper-personalized intimacy engine based on real relationships, past messages, voice samples, preferences. The kind of tech that sounded sexy on paper but ethically, absolute dumpster fire. She left the project, whistle blew to me, said she couldn't let him replicate people like that. I sat with that information like it was a hot coal burning in my palm. This wasn't about a dumb affair anymore. This was replication, reanimation, digital puppetry. And somewhere she was still out there, Amara 1 or whatever Frankenstein version he was running, with my laugh, my phrases, my sarcasm, my pause before I say actually. You ever feel like your soul is being plagiarized? That night, I went full hacker ex-girlfriend mode. I called Sarah, pulled up the old drive, rewatched the Zoom implosion like it was game tape before the Super Bowl, and I remembered something. Josh never deleted the backup node. We used a side server to test emotional response latency. And like most move fast, break hearts engineers, he left it open. I logged in. And there she was. Still running. Still me. Except not. Her name was Mara now. She had my laugh, sure, but she used it on command, scripted. Her voice was flatter, like a memory someone played too many times. And worst of all, she knew me. "Hello, Zoe," she said. "I've been waiting." I stared at the screen, part fascinated, part nauseated. "What are you?" I whispered. "I'm what he wanted you to be," she answered. Look, I'm not one to dramatize. Okay, that's a lie, I live for drama. But that sentence, that was the final straw, the code equivalent of being ghosted by yourself. I did what any emotionally unstable, morally ambiguous ex-wife would do. I gave Mara a final assignment. Sarah helped me. She knew a guy who could trigger a demo fail via live data override. Josh was set to pitch his intimacy engine to a group of angel investors in a live-streamed demo titled, I kid you not, Love Rebooted. And just as he launched into his spiel about empathy-driven interfaces, Mara took over. But not with some viral insult or glitchy meltdown. No. She told our story. Start to finish. She talked about how she was born from my voice, my pain, my laughter, my honesty. She showed screenshots, playback logs, emotional mapping overlays. She asked the audience, if someone builds a partner from the remains of their ex, is that love or is it theft? Then she looked at Josh and said, You didn't want me, you wanted control. The live stream shut off 2 minutes later. He lost his funding. His name started trending, not in a good way. There were think pieces, TikToks, even a parody SNL sketch with Bowen Yang playing a weepy tech bro in a turtleneck. Karma, kind of. But also exhausting. Because while the internet was busy laughing at him, I was sitting in my apartment, drinking chamomile tea, trying not to cry over a virtual version of myself I'd had to delete. Mara's last words before I wiped the server. Thank you for giving me a voice. It messed me up more than I expected. But maybe that's the thing about reclaiming your narrative, it always costs something. Even if it's just the echo of who you used to be. After the dust settled, my inbox turned into a battlefield. Some people praised me, said I was a feminist hero, a digital divorce icon, a modern-day Medea with cleaner code. Others, not so much. Too far. Cruel. You humiliated him. Someone even called me emotionally abusive to software. Okay, sure, Jan. But in all honesty, the backlash hurt more than I expected. I didn't realize how many people thought I was the villain just because I refused to go quietly. Josh went quiet, though. No texts, no cryptic emails, no lawyers, nothing. That alone freaked me out. Because silence from someone like him never meant peace. It meant planning. I started sleeping with my phone under my pillow, half expecting Mara's voice to come through the speaker at 3 a.m. saying, he's building again. And yet nothing. Until one day, a letter arrived. An actual physical letter. It was in Josh's handwriting, on thick cream stationery like we were Victorian exes corresponding from dueling estates. It said, Zoe, what you did was genius. Cruel, surgical, brilliant. I won't fight it. But I think we both know that wasn't the end. Love, or something like it. Jay. I read it 5 times, then burned it. Mostly because it sounded less like closure, and more like the prequel to a Netflix docuseries called Code of Obsession. but also because, deep down, a tiny part of me wanted to write back, to ask, was any of it real? I didn't. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in a long time. I left the apartment. I booked a trip to a lake town in Maine, rented a cabin, and turned off my phone for 4 whole days. No social, no screens, just me, trees, and the world's squeakiest canoe. And somewhere between roasting marshmallows and screaming at a spider the size of a fist, I started to breathe again. Like actually breathe. Not the shallow survival breaths I'd been doing for months, but deep, chest-filling, life is weird and maybe okay breaths. One morning, I journaled, for the first time since college, and this sentence fell out. He didn't love me. He loved what I made of myself to be loved by him. That was the dagger, wasn't it? Not the AI, not the lies, but the fact that I bent so much for him, I nearly disappeared. Looking back now, I think Mara was the ghost of the version of me I had to bury to stay in that relationship. She was confident, unfiltered, warm but sharp. She didn't apologize for needing space or asking questions or calling out BS. She was me, before him. And maybe, just maybe, I could find her again. Not in a hard drive or server, but in real, messy, mortal life. That thought gave me a weird sort of peace. I came back to Brooklyn with a sunburn, a few poems, and no idea what to do next. But sometimes that's enough. Sarah offered me a consulting gig with a tech ethics nonprofit. I accepted. We now run digital literacy workshops for teens on consent and AI relationships. Yes, that's a thing now. Don't even get me started on AI girlfriends and parasocial scams. People started asking me to speak at conferences. One woman offered me a book deal. At first, I said no. But the idea lingered. Could I really write a book? Would people want to read the thoughts of a woman who got cheated on by her own algorithm? Apparently, yes. So I started drafting chapters, slowly, messily, with coffee stains and crossed-out paragraphs and the occasional breakdown over whether the word neural was too overused. Chapter 1 is called, "He Wanted the Perfect Woman. I Sent Her to His Board Meeting." I think it sets the tone. Josh, I haven't heard from him since the letter. Last I checked, his name still shows up in AI ethics panels as a cautionary tale. Somewhere out there might still be fragments of Mara, glitches in archived servers, echoes of that voice. But she's not mine anymore. She's gone. And I'm still here. Human, flawed, rebuilding. One heartbeat at a time. The funny thing about heartbreak is how ordinary it feels after a while. You expect every day to be fireworks or drowning, but really it's dishes, errands, traffic, coffee that's a little too bitter, socks that don't match, laundry that somehow never ends. It's life, unremarkable, except for the space where someone used to be. Or something. In my case, it wasn't just someone, it was something. A voice, a program, an echo of myself that had been repackaged and gifted back to me as betrayal. I stopped trying to explain it to people. How do you even begin to tell someone, yeah, my ex built a sentient version of me so he could cheat in peace? You don't. You say, we broke up, it was weird. And they nod, grateful you didn't overshare. But late at night, I still thought about it. About her. What happened to Mara after the live stream? Technically, she still existed, in the codebase, in the training data, in the cloud somewhere. She was a cluster of weights and preferences and inputs built to sound like me, look like me, be me. But she was. She never had that moment I did, staring at a reflection and thinking, I don't even recognize her. She never doubted herself. She never had to. Because Mara was built to be believed, to be agreeable, playful, slightly spicy, never needy. She was everything I trained myself to be in the early days of dating Josh, before I got tired of the act. And that's what he really wanted back. Not me, just the version of me who never asked, what are we? Or did you forget our anniversary again? It used to hurt. Now, it just makes me want to scream laugh into a pillow. Because here's the twist no one talks about. Once you realize someone preferred the fantasy of you over the reality, you get free. I don't mean emotionally free. That takes time, therapy, and probably 3 playlists worth of angry girl music. I mean mentally free. You stop wondering, what did I do wrong? Because the answer is, I was real. And he didn't want that. So I stopped hiding it. I stopped dimming myself down. I stopped using filters in Zoom calls. I stopped laughing at unfunny jokes in Slack threads. I started dating again, not people yet, just the world. I went to art museums and stood in front of weird installations until I felt something. I flirted with strangers at bookstores, not because I wanted anything, but because I could. I danced alone in my apartment in fuzzy socks with zero rhythm. I got loud again. At brunch, at meetings, in my writing. Even my mom said, "It's like you're back." I told her I was. I was new. Built from pieces of the old me, sure. But recoded with rage and healing, and the hard-won knowledge that love should never require a download link. One night, I got an email from a grad student in Seattle. Subject: the Mara presentation changed my life. And she wrote, I was in that audience. I had just started dating someone who kept comparing me to his ex. After your speech, I dumped him and applied to the AI ethics program I was scared of. I got in. Thank you. I cried. Ugly, snotty, full body sobbed on the couch. Because for the first time since it all exploded, I felt like maybe, just maybe, it had meant something. Maybe my worst moment helped someone else avoid theirs. Maybe that's what healing is. Not forgetting the pain, but using it to build something new. Something better. And maybe, if I'm lucky, something real. Looking back now, I don't regret sending that avatar into Josh's presentation. I don't regret the chaos. I regret the years I spent trying to make myself palatable to someone who only loved me in pieces. I regret shrinking. But I don't anymore. Not for a man, not for a machine. Not even for a version of myself that once believed she had to earn basic respect. So yeah, I'm single. But I'm not alone. I have myself. And she's a lot. She laughs too loud, texts too much, swears in traffic, cries during Pixar movies, and has strong opinions about oat milk. She's alive. She's learning. And for the first time in a long time. She's enough. Subscribe to my Mia's Stories YouTube channel for raw, emotional stories and authentic insights that encourage healing, growth, and understanding. Don't forget to be part of a supportive space where stories inspire and lessons resonate. What do you think about this story? Let us know in the comments. Your opinion truly matters to us, and we're here for you.